Hey guys, how's it going? Kripparrian here. With the Ungoro expansion coming up, it's really interesting to take a look at the creative side of the user cards out there. You guys know I'm quite a regular on the custom card Reddits, on all these websites that kind of promote and have galleries of custom cards. Hearthstone has their custom card contests, which are very cool to look at. And every time I see a really cool card, I save it on my computer and I get a bunch and I share with you guys the results of that. So today is the day where we take a look and see what the creative geniuses out there in the Hearthstone community have come up with. Kicking it off, we have Abandon. 1-cost Warlock card, give an allied minion to your opponent. So I really like cards like these. There was a similar mechanic in like Magic the Gathering with Donate and a few other card games, but very limited and very niche. Combining this with cards like Doomsayer, just cards that have very crappy effects, or to encourage like an MC tech, or to encourage like some kind of death rattle that is negative and you can pass it on to your opponent. Just some really crazy combo wacky stuff. This is what the game needs, not just a proactive broken ass 1-drop minion to go with aggro decks again. We have the Negligent Doctor, 4-mana 7/7 Priest card. Battlecry, shuffle a medical license into your deck. You can't use your hero power until it's drawn. So it's the ultimate like tempo push on turn 4 from Priest. And yeah, it's a really interesting way to have a negative effect. What I really like about a lot of other games is that there's kind of a balance between positive and negative effects. The really powerful cards have a very real negative effect. And yeah, this is very much that. I don't think we can continue to just have cards that are okay, like 4-mana, 4/5s, with an ability that basically does close to nothing most games. Those type of cards, we have enough of them. Just the pretty good cards are not really exciting enough. Cards like these are exciting. Extremely powerful cards with extremely big downsides. Fishing Bobber, 0-mana, 0/1. Inspire, return this minion to your hand and add a random Murloc to your hand. Just keep getting those Murlocs. It's honestly a really broken card because your opponent can't interact with it, but just the idea of a card like this, probably making it cost like a couple mana, is really interesting. Yes, we have almost infinite value options out there, but I feel like getting Murlocs and, getting them one at a time, one per turn, it's okay. This really wouldn't get too out of control. And we have The Light Shall Burn You. One of my subs made this card. 6-cost, deals 0 to 10 damage, deal the same amount of damage split randomly to all characters. Yeah, it's a good example of what the game doesn't need. Cards with random effects that are impacted and have a leverage on the random effect to begin with. Implosion 2.0. Please, Blizzard, no more. We have Eavesdropping, 1-cost, discover a secret. I really like this because it makes secrets actually secretive again. I think that's an aspect of the game that we kind of miss, where secrets, you kind of test for them, but then after like 2 actions, you know exactly what they have, because there's not been any point in time where any class had more than like 2 or 3 good secrets. There's not really much to play around, and this is potentially quite a lot to play around. Acid Rain, 3-cost hunter card. This turn, whenever a minion takes damage, destroy it. So it's kind of like the Acid Maw effect, but temporarily. And I think it's very good. I think cards like these generally are what Hunter needs to have a control archetype, much less so big minions with just, more abilities, but you can't play them anyway because you have to play aggressively to have any chance to win as a hunter. But still, Control Hunter's a long way out, though I wanted to share this masterpiece. And Jaraxxus Park, 3-cost Warlock spell. For each demon in your hand, summon a 1/1 Devil Sword with charge. So it's kind of like the Demon Warlock deck, but in a very different way, and I really like it. It works with Cruel, the Warlock legendary from the Mean Streets of Gadgesan, where if you have a bunch of demons in your hand and you have no copies in your deck, you can follow up a Jaraxxus Park play with a bunch of demons and fill your board that way once again. Really cool stuff. Fell Fisher, 5 cost, deal 4 damage to a minion. If that kills it, mark where it had been, and the next minion to enter the mark takes 4 damage. It really brings perspective to positioning once again, and I think that's something that we miss. Most of the cards that have to do with positioning are removal, which are no longer really played because they're just kind of crap, and the other type are, minion buff effects, which again are fairly oppressive because they really push the win more aspect of the game, which is not really that much fun of an aspect. This card is overall fairly weak on the power level, but I really would like to see more mechanics like it. And, if they made Fellfisher and made it 4 mana or something, I think that would actually be very cool. Arcane Barrage, 1 cost, deal 2 damage to a minion and 0 damage to adjacent minions. Again, kind of a very simple spell, not really that broken, at least once Flamewaker rolls out of standard, and it has real synergy with spell damage cards. I feel like spell damage will never really take off in a big way, except for Malagos, of course, just because spells are inherently balanced in their own way, so, doing like 1 extra generally doesn't have enough synergy, but something like this might actually do that. Cards that have additional benefits from spell damage, and it's done in such a nice way. It's not like Arcane Blast where it's like, just double spell damage. It's a very natural way, dealing 0 damage to a side target or another target or something else. Really cool. Ogre Intellect. Draw 2 cards. You have 50% chance to transform into Ogre Intellect. Really cool. Just more Ogre Intellecting. It's probably maybe a little bit busted with a couple Sorcerer Apprentice, but still I really like the Ogre effect, and I really wish it was brought back in more ways than attack animations. The Headless Horseman, 6 cost, 4/8 neutral legendary, taunt, death rattle, show up as one of the choices in your next discover. So it just keeps coming back if you choose it to be. And this is a really interesting way to have cycle mechanics to really add some consistency to discover. Discover in its own way is a very good mechanic, but the main issue that I see with discover is it's just so ultimately unpredictable that the fact that you can no longer play around what your opponent might have kind of breaks down competitive play just another level. And we've broken down competitive play lots of levels already. It's been broken down enough. I think cards like these that have additional strengths from Discover, they have synergy with this Discover mechanic, but they put consistency into the Discover mechanic, is a real genius way to kind of work around it. And I hope Blizzard kind of takes note of this mechanic and perhaps implements it in their own game. And we have Tragic Hero. So it's a bit of an interesting card. Oh, it actually gets cropped out a little bit there. It's a 4 cost 8/0 death rattle, summon a 4/5 Hero's Apprentice. And the Hero's Apprentice is a Yeti. It's a 4 mana 4/5. So it's a 4 cost 4/5. It's like a Yeti. But if you have hand buffers, you get the original guy, which is really powerful. So it's a really cool way to use hand buffing effects. As we know, hand buffing effects are a little bit lame, and the synergies that they try to push were also a little bit lame. Like Doppelgangster, like sure, okay. Kind of a crap card. Pretty much late game if you consider standard constructed these days, 5 cost, right? So it just kind of fails to work. But 0 health minions with powerful death rattle effects, well, that's a totally different story. Obliteration Ball, 4 cost mage spell, deal 1 damage to each enemy minion left to right, and it gains +1 spell damage for each minion killed. So again, one of these positional cards, but like extremely cool, really. Right? Like what I'd want to see a card like this in the game, but I'd also like to see a card that does the opposite of it, maybe on like a neutral minion, so you'd have to play around that. Maybe not quite as destructive, but you get the idea, just to kind of screw with people and really make them think of how they position their minions, because I feel like that's one of those lost aspects of strategy in Hearthstone. Then we have Riot Guard Dern, 3 cost 2/5 taunt. If your opponent summons 3 or more minions during a turn, summon this minion from your deck. Patches, please! The defensive kind. but probably a card that will still be included in every single deck. So I don't know. I like the idea. I like the idea of people being punished for just spawning just a bunch of garbage. And maybe 3 is not the right number, but yeah. I really like the idea. I hope they do implement deck playing cards in this way rather than in the patches way. Then we have a Naramax, 6-cost Paladin card, 6/5. The beginning of the game. If you have no spells in your deck, you start with 40 health. Knowing how strong spells are to the control paladin deck type really makes you consider whether it's worth actually playing this card. And that's why I feel it's one of the best custom cards I've seen to date, because it allows a completely new deck type of paladin, but not by jamming it down your throat. It's not like, you know, we're going to make these 6 cards that have insane synergy with one another. They're all paladin cards, so you're just going to play them like the Jade bullshit. No, it's like, no spells, you have a lot of health, figure it out. And that is the absolute best way to promote a new deck type. We have Imposter, 3-cost Warlock card. Shuffle Flame Imp to your opponent's deck. It appears as another minion in their deck until they play it. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting way to just troll some people, and it's obviously not a good card, but cards like these really make Hearthstone a great game for a lot of people. Not everyone plays Hearthstone to be competitive. Not everyone plays Hearthstone to refine the best version of Pirate Warrior they can and play 1,000 games that hopefully qualify for a tournament. No, people just want to see some crazy-ass hilarious bullshit happen. And instead of making cards with no text that have no meaning in the game whatsoever, why not just make more cards like these? We have Royal Flush. 4-cost rogue spell, draw 1 card of each rarity if you aren't already holding a card of that rarity. So it's kind of a card that you'd want to be playing to, you want to figure out your deck around it, you want to have some card synergies between the rarities, and you generally want to have a low curve deck. Again, you know, it defines a potential deck type in a big way, but again, it's done very loosely where you really just have to figure it all out. Then we have Entombsayer, 2-cost 0/7. At the start of your turn, shuffle all minions into their opponent's deck. So it's kind of like another Doomsayer, and I think just having more Doomsayers, it's kind of like that thing where Crackle came out and everyone was playing Lava Burst again, even though no one was playing Lava Burst to begin with. And Doomsayer is really good because it's very difficult for aggressive decks to deal with Doomsayers, let alone if they just had 4 of them. So I like it a lot. And we have a Petrify, 2-cost priest spell. Transfer minion's attack to his health and give it taunt. Nice. I know a spell. Discover a spell. 50% chance to discover the wrong spell. Again, these ogre mechanics are awesome, and I do wish Blizzard would implement them in more serious ways than just the attack varieties on crappy minions. Then we have Ranger General Sylvanas, the old Sylvanas before the bad stuff happened. 6-cost 5/5, battle cry, your opponent's minions cost health instead of mana next turn. The reason this card is so interesting is because, you know, it's a very poorly statted card for the mana cost, but it gives your opponent opportunity to tempo in a big way at the cost of health, which is the Hunter win condition. So there's just so many aspects at play that really kind of feel all around very balanced. And yeah, pretty good stuff this time around. You guys really see the potential of Hearthstone from some of these cards, and I feel like you less frequently see it from the release of the Blizzard cards. Even though there are a few gems out there, I really wish there were more ambitious and more, it's hard to say creative. We know the guys who make cards of Blizzard are creative, but I feel like they don't take enough risks and they print too many stupid cards that just won't see any play at the end of the day. So I hope, you know, this video inspires you guys to see the full potential of Hearthstone, and hopefully inspires a few key people out there, maybe some very powerful ideas. So hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.